This SEC East Conference Preview Edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Circus Sports. They're back with their Circus Survivor and Circa Millions contest. $14 million up for grabs. Get all the details over at circusports.com.
Hey, this is John Smoltz, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the winning green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
We had discussed doing a little greased up, a la Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer on the beach because football is back and we look good.
Football is back. Joining us here to talk college football, Colby Dant, aka the Dantabase, aka Pick Dundee. What's happening, Colby?
We should celebrate. This is the last year we will do the SEC East because next year there is no divisions, despite their 8-game conference schedule that they still want to do.
So we are generally excited about the abolition of divisions.
I mean, the East has been like a cakewalk for like 20 years. You know what I mean? If in SEC terms, the West has been dominant.
One of the bigger mistakes the ACC made, divisions just don't make sense because you create. It's almost like what the white man did in Africa, where they just drew some lines on a map and said this will be the border. That's what divisions do. They create every conference that has divisions has what? A shitty division,
the Big Ten West, the ACC Coastal,
and a logjam division.
Yeah,
and it's the same every time.
I will say, I guess, as a from a gambling point of view, it does. At least SEC East in previous years, it did make it fun as far as like some of the conference futures because to your point, like the logjam creates some like wild card winners or you know, when we talk Big Ten, obviously East and West, there's always some kind of surprise winners that can maybe sneak in there. Obviously with the SEC East, Georgia's like latest run here hasn't been as fun.
At least in the ACC when it was like Clemson and a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
They were at least the good. Like they were a good
Didn't
team.
They get like 6-6 UVA one year in the ACC championship? I mean, and you have like,
my issue with like you got to have when the team on the East is also like coming out of the East is also crappy. I mean, the SEC analogy, like
Missouri went
good.
twice. Missouri went twice. South Carolina went with Spurrier one year.
So in a way,
like
it's good Georgia started
that
cheating.
Aspect is fun, but yeah, overall it doesn't make sense.
Why do you need divisions? You don't,
especially when you have conferences with like 1,000 teams. You know, I sorry guys, I'm old school where I remember 8.
Wait, you're old school,
all right? 8 teams. We've doubled that, and we're looks like we're headed to tripling that eventually.
Pac-20, let's go. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, again, obviously, it's a complete crapshoot with all the realignment.
Here's a great nugget: is that
I love.
Well,
nuggets.
it's annoying too, as a guy who, obviously, I'm good at picking games against.
Here we go.
Is this the USFL?
No. Excuse me. We agreed we wouldn't talk spring football during real football.
Like when they have the Pac-12 and it doesn't have 12 teams in it, or the Big Ten doesn't have 10 teams in it. That shit annoys me.
How about,
you know what though? I've heard rumors that the Big Ten is going to change 10 to an acronym that stands for like kind of like XFL. Yeah, I think
teamwork, energy.
Yeah, where 10
no nonsense.
Meet the other 10. Yeah. Some of the stuff that I find just hilarious is like Texas is entering the SEC next year, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it is
Those
Georgia.
bitches.
Georgia's playing at Texas next year, and they are playing. That's their. They have since Texas A&M joined in I think 2011. They have yet to play at Texas A&M, so they're going to play at Texas in the SEC more recently than Texas A&M.
So
are you even in the same conference? Is my point.
My take would be, so I do think don't have a problem with conferences allowing for, scheduling quirks that could give you a bye at the right time if you're one of the teams that might have a chance. Like the opposite of what the Pac-12 did to USC this year, for example, where I think the USC has their bye week 2 or something crazy like that.
Well,
anyway,
some of that's self-inflicted.
Why can't it just be a standard formula like the NFL, where you play these teams? Like I know some conferences are doing, you play like half the teams 1 year,
their
half the team.
interest also. Yeah, I
Of
like
course.
that. I like that.
Like have a simple scheduling formula so every team does play every team over a 3 or 4. What's reasonable? If you have a 16 team conference, can we play everyone every 3 years?
No, every 2 it should be. Right?
Every 2 years.
Every
cool.
2. Like
I'm always going to assume Colby's on the more extreme edge of this stuff, so I'll say 3 years.
You're in the same conference.
Agreed.
Like there should be.
How do you solve the problem?
Penn State's played Alabama as many times as they've played Georgia since 1980.
I will say,
they're in
Colby,
the same conference.
if you could, I know
Yeah.
you're getting hard up into the can, but if we could do a little bit of focused energy on some of these specific rivalries where team Alabama has played Big Ten team more than conference foe over the last 20 years, because that is fascinating to me. Like that is the kind of stuff where how is the mainstream media not at least discussing that?
Yes,
Because I will say, if you're gonna create a conference, I would think the conference would be to play each other. So I'm with you, Colby.
I have done a deep dive on that. I had to pull it up. I know, like especially in the non-con.
These are great.
Like
nuggets,
they've played
though.
Southern Miss and like Alabama's played Southern Miss and ULM more than they've played Georgia over the past 20 years.
No,
Sun Belt.
then again, that defeats the whole point of conferences. Yeah. The conferences are to develop rivalries. And again, going back to the greatest football league in the land, the National Football League, you're in a fucking division. You know why they call it division? You play the teams twice a year. The teams that aren't in your division, you play a specific division in the AFC, and then you play another NFC, and then you play
very clear
first
formula.
place team. I know the schedule before it comes out.
The formula,
and it isn't like, oh, hey, we have $3 million to pay you to come kick our ass.
But I think they would say though that they have the divisions like Alabama's playing LSU and Auburn every year.
But specifically when like the NFL made sure when they went to the 4 division structure to say, well, we're going to rotate it so every team plays every other team every 4 years, no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it's going to be. And so, I think it would be pretty simple to solve the problem that way. So you don't have these weird anomalies where somehow a team has missed a team a decade, or the one that's more likely is that team misses having to play that road game for a couple decades. It does seem a little odd. So SEC obviously guilty on multiple counts of just creating.
SEC.
Look,
it means more. Right?
They baseball champs,
Congrats to them. All right. Hey, let's get into the picks. Before we do that, of course, shout out to Circa Sports. Oh, man. Obviously, Circa is the place to go to watch NFL, college football. It's just like a sports book. You really have to take the pilgrimage because it's a religious experience heading over to Circa there. And the contests are so much fun. Circa Millions and Circa Survivor. Circa Millions, of course, you're picking 5 teams against the spread every week in the NFL. Survivor is, as you'd imagine, just picking 1 team. And then they have $14 million guaranteed. So depending on how many entries, there could be a massive overlay there. Again, circusports.com. Head over there. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, I'm not in Vegas. How am I going to do it? You sign up in Vegas. And even if you don't live in Vegas, you can hire a proxy to submit the picks for you. Very easy to do. We'll actually be there last weekend of August doing some live shows from the circus. So if you want to hang out and meet us, great excuse to come out, sign up for the contest, get set up with your proxy. All the details over at circusports.com.
Sean, not only that, I just thought of a promotion on the scene. If someone who's signing up for the contest wants to come by and hang with us, we will help. We will make your week 1 picks if you need.
Oh yes, we'll provide that service. Also,
forget those touts who are going to charge you hard-earned cash. We'll give
you a survivor pick as well. We'll give it to you all.
Yeah, we'll throw in a week 2 survivor pick. We're that confident.
Tell me more about these prosties in Vegas.
Oh yeah, Colby's a big. He likes to slide off into the dark and hire a proxy late at night. Sometimes when he's out in Vegas, he likes to get hooked up with some of those deep dark college football.
It's a wife or girlfriend proxy. She's filling in for your wife or girlfriend in Las Vegas,
and she'll go to dinner.
I think maybe there's like some paperwork where this technically is your wife for the next 24 hours. Everything's above board.
We all saw Indecent Proposal, right?
That's $1 million idea if I ever heard.
I was gonna say now we know what to repurpose the F line for.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, bad news, Colby. The F line was out for a couple hours last week. Got a notification. All right, you want to talk SEC East?
Let's go.
All right. I think typically we like to go. I know we've been debating
bottom to
this.
the top.
In our top tens, we decided top to the bottom is the best way to do it. Colby does his drafts where he takes the best games first. But I think for this purpose, we go bottom to the top.
Yeah, because I think
yeah, of course.
And I think some of the more interesting takes are at the bottom. Obviously, I'm
100%.
I think we think Georgia's going to be good. I think would be a fair prediction. Now, how good, we can get to that when we cover the win total. But I mean, I think some of the hotter takes are down here at the bottom.
All right, let's talk Vanderbilt football. Of course, their win total, a beautiful 3.5. -170 to the over. Oh my God. +140 to the under. 200 to 1 to win their own division. Colby, this is the SEC. How could that be possible? 500 to 1 to win the conference. They weren't even listed in the. They were the only team in the SEC East, and I believe the only team in the SEC to not be listed in the college football playoff future. And they are 1,000 to 1. To win the national championship, which that shouldn't be possible for a team in the SEC.
I mean, again, I'm gonna jump route. Well, first off, I do have to bring up the sabotage going on by Colby.
No,
Kramer,
where hold on, where is the sabotage?
Well,
am I sitting on something?
In classic Pick Dundee fashion, Kramer.
Do I have a sign on my back?
I said, get us 2 Phil Steele guides. We have 0 at the office right now. 0. He got 1 that he left at home.
No.
Yeah.
And all my research out the window.
Yeah.
Love Phil Steele. We do
wow.
have the digital access, but I'm a hard. I'm an
I
analog
gave you
guy.
the digital access, and
I'm an analog guy.
Can
So
we-
if my picks are off, I'm blaming the subterfuge by Colby. My picks were too good last year. He's got to sabotage me around.
College football Sean does not do digital.
No.
I was actually reading a newspaper when I walked into the office this morning. It was. I mean, young people would look at you like there's shit all over your face. Colby, I feel like since we interrupted the show, we should pull back the curtain and let people know why you only ordered 1.
Look, we love Phil Steele. Phil Steele's been on the show a bunch of times. We got plans to get him back on the show.
We're gonna ask him this later in the
checkout
summer.
process was clunky, right?
Yeah,
Colby?
it's a little clunky where you have to where you go for quantity. It's like no college football fans would order multiple magazines, so you had to then enter all the information yet again, and it's not like one of these things where it saves your information.
Oh Jesus! I mean, your browser might be.
I mean, just if you look at Colby's desktop, it looks like that scene from Always Sunny where Charlie has all the photos up, and it's just his images. It's just like a paper mache complete desktop. All right. Let's talk talk about Vanderbilt.
Well, I mean, it's worth
I take pride
noting,
in that. I take pride in that.
Phil Steele is he monogamy he practices with his guys.
Yes.
He definitely doesn't hire the proxies in Vegas.
No. I love what I saw at AJ Swan that first year. You could make a case, and I know a number of the Vanderbilt blogs I read because I didn't have access to Phil Steele's magazine, said that AJ Swan was the best true freshman in the land. I mean, they're comparing him to the next Jay Cutler. Love how the kid throws the ball.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think at the college level, certainly good. Offensive line, I think better than most years. They're returning 70 starts. Their goal is to go bowling. I mean, they do have some quarterback issues on the defensive side. Their defense, kind of an outlier bad year, 8.7 yards per attempt allowed. That being said, I think this team can get to 4 wins. We can walk through the schedule, but Colby, what's your take on Vandy?
Yeah, I think Clark Lee's doing a good job. Obviously they beat Florida last year, and they
have a couple of
Kentucky,
nice upset wins.
Yeah, and AJ Swan was pretty darn good. Now they did get hit in the portal a little bit, but
oh wow, hitting the portal.
Well, like their best players. Often, it's kind of a farming system right now. It seems
like the Cincinnati Reds.
Like Elijah McAllister ends up at Auburn. That was a defensive end that was very good. Their backup quarterbacks at your depth.
Pretty
Mike
disrespectful.
Wright goes to Mississippi State. Yeah.
Pretty disrespectful when your own conference uses you as a farming system.
Yeah, your best running back, Ray Davis, ends up at Kentucky.
Vanderbilt has tons of rich dudes who went there. Where's the
they
gap?
should be doing more in the NIL.
They should be. I mean, it's something that I've read recent articles over the past year that they're going to make a bigger emphasis, throw more money into football. Maybe that happens, maybe that doesn't. But I do like the over. I think you look at the schedule,
especially. I mean. You want to walk through the schedule, Kramer?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I do. And real quick, Colby, it's a positive for you potentially as someone who is a massive college football fan. Although we never asked you this question on the air, for Vanderbilt to continue this success, it shows that a podcaster can go from podcasting to running a college football team. Would you want to run a single team if it meant you can't root for the rest of them? You only root for the team that you work for.
I would take on that challenge.
Well, I mean, Vanderbilt,
depending on the team, though.
Barton Simmons of Cover 3 fame, Colby.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, he played he's an Ivy League safety too.
He's getting it done. It does seem like they need to spend a little bit better. All right, talking schedule, 2023 again. There's elements of SEC in here, but then there's also elements where it's like they're the team that is just like everyone allows to be around for some reason. Oh, they open up. With
it brings their academics up.
Yeah, is that
and their baseball team is really good. Yeah,
they got we just put some glasses on the Vanderbilt logo. Perfect.
Honestly, that's probably part of their struggles. If you look at Stanford and Duke, and it's transfer portal era.
When we talk Pac-12, I know Stanford, again, not from reading Phil Steele, but they were one of the teams that have really struggled. One, they're not putting any NIL money, even though it's a very rich school, and then two. Even if you have the transfer portal, if you still hold those transfers because of their admissions, you're really not benefiting.
Colorado was like this. Thankfully, Dion demanded in his contract that we lower that to bring it back to what it was, in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, who cares if these kids can read? They're here to play
football.
They're not here to play school.
Yeah,
it certainly is one of the things that gets simplified with them being employees.
Yeah.
So, all right, Hawaii, they open up at home. Beautiful First Bake Stadium, which by the way, Colby getting a little stadium Iggy on every college football preview.
Yes, college football experience, in-depth team previews, one for all 133.
So I'm sure you had a campus tour on to talk First Bank Stadium in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. But they open with Hawaii at home. They then have Alabama A&M at home. This
you could start 2-0.
No, they should be 2-0 now. Timmy Chang actually did better as the season went along than I thought.
But we don't like him there. He shouldn't be the coach. Bullshit hire.
Hey, he played for June.
I like him.
June would back him.
It's all bullshit.
I'm just saying, as the season went along, I remember early in the year, Hawaii was so bad. Now I think Hawaii might, be in a better spot this year to give Vanderbilt a game, but I think Vanderbilt's still just a better team. So yeah, I fully expect them to be 2-0, and I think they'll be favored to be 2-0.
So and then they take to the road against Wake Forest and UNLV.
That's that third win, UNLV.
Not the toughest road back to back, but it is a back to back road spot, which is not something you typically see these SEC teams put themselves through.
No. You typically see Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
you don't see any of the other ones. You typically see Vanderbilt almost every year.
It's like putting a baseball on a tee in front of Frank Thomas.
I still think
he just smashes it out of the park every time.
I still think they can get. I wouldn't be shocked if they get a win between those two games.
Yeah, UNLV
at Wake and at UNLV.
Well, UNLV's breaking in a brand new coach, so you think September. The brand new offensive philosophy, brand new defensive philosophy.
Better get one of those wins.
And another thing is UNLV made this dumb move to say, hey, let's stop playing at Sam Boyd and go play at Allegiant, where no one goes to the games. Your fan base, you're already struggling to gain fans. At Sam Boyd, you could pack it and make it look like a home environment.
The counter argument there would be, of all of the teams coming to town, Vanderbilt, are they really going to fill the stands?
No, but no, I'm saying no one's going to go. But that's what I'm saying is like even when UNLV brings their normal fans, if it's a smaller stadium, it can make it look like it's a home environment.
You can Benedict this one and say, you know what, Vanderbilt kids, they can afford the suites. they might.
Vanderbilt lane 18.5 against Hawaii week 1, just to give you a reference point spread wise.
Well, I mean that's a win. Yeah. So again, their win total is 3.5. So they probably need to get those.
No, they're going to be 3-1 after September 16th.
Yeah, and then you're going to sweat the rest of the season as they take.
They just need one conference win.
September 23rd. You got
they beat Kentucky a year ago.
Yeah.
Missouri,
Kentucky and Missouri back to back at home. I think they get one of those.
Yeah, or that. I mean, go.
No, at Florida, Georgia, those are losses for me. So yeah, I mean, I guess
Georgia at home. Look ahead spot for Georgia.
There'll be more Georgia fans there than there will be Commodore fans. But I
think they can hang with some of these. I mean, even I guess at Florida is really tough, but some of these home games they should be.
Georgia has.
They should be in the game against Kentucky.
If you were wondering, Georgia has a bye after they play Vanderbilt. So
looking ahead to the bye
and a bye when they play Vanderbilt.
That's a double bye in my book. All right, so yeah, I mean, I guess you guys are saying perhaps they get one against Kentucky or Missouri. That feels optimistic. Then you have the bye week. You go at Ole Miss, which they're not winning a road game this year. You have Auburn at home. To me, this is the game I circled.
That's one. That's one right there. Strip Club Freeze in Nashville. That just sounds like dynamite next to a fucking flame, right?
It is beautiful. He's back. He's back in the SEC. And then you have at the Gamecocks with Shane. Shane's getting some hype this year.
They are.
It's a little beamer ball down there in Columbia. And then you have another bye, and then it's at Tennessee to wrap it up.
Let's talk about that for a second. I think
I'd like to real quick shout out to the FB Schedules website.
Fantastic.
Best place to get schedule data. But putting the SEC championship game on the Vanderbilt schedule feels little bit optimistic.
James Franklin had him close.
Just a little bit optimistic. Yeah, that was all Coach Pry, as we now know.
Yeah, hold on. Let's key in on this because I think this is smart and it's partially a reason for their success a year ago. By them playing a week 0 game, they get 2 bye weeks.
Yeah, I see that.
Which I think you need to do if you're Vanderbilt. Stanford, take notes. Duke, take notes. All those academic schools, because that game at Ole Miss. Now look, they're probably going to lose that regardless. But if you tell me you get a week to focus on it, and then a week before your rival Tennessee, your chances of winning it, I think, go slightly up.
Who does Lane and Ole Miss have on after that game? I did a lot of look ahead research.
Is that Bama?
No, it's Texas A&M. It's Jimbo.
A
guy that Lane seems to be a little bit more
ticked
focused. Than most guys. Spending a lot of time talking about Vanderbilt. I think walking through the schedule, there are a lot of games where you can be like, all right, this is a half a win. This is a winnable game. So we basically to summarize, we said there are 3 winnable conference games in Auburn, Missouri, and Kentucky. Yeah. And we think their entire non-con schedule is winnable.
No, I mean, they're probably going to lose to Dave Clawson and Wake, but I'll say this, even this, you're getting Wake week 2 for Wake, right? Week 2 for Wake, and they're breaking in a brand new quarterback. Sam Hartman's been there for 7 years.
So to wrap it up, are you willing to lay minus 170 to bet this over?
Yes. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Next up, which pretty crazy, Florida. Next up in the bottom to the top philosophy, 5.5 minus 130 to the over, plus 110 to the under, plus 2,500 to win the division, 85 to 1 to win the conference, and 95 to 1 to make the college football playoff. We were talking about this off the show. It's hard to see an SEC winner winning the conference and not being in the college football playoffs. Why not just take the 95 to 1 if you're dumb enough to play this? You really can see which football programs have the dumbest fans in terms of just blindly backing them. Cause like Florida is one of those teams where their odds don't line up to where their win total is. 200 to 1 is their national championship price. I mean, what was this?
AR-15 RIP.
Are they better or worse with him gone?
And the backup, Jalen Kitna, R.I.P. because he was watching kitty porn or something.
Really?
John Kitna's son.
no.
I
You know
missed
about that story?
Imagine being John Kitna. You already had the trouble of being kind of this bust NFL player, and now your kid shames you like this.
Yeah,
Are you being serious?
I
right
think
now?
the kid getting arrested probably worse.
I don't know if he was a bust though. He was from D2, but
Is this true?
yeah. I mean, as far as the last I saw, I know he got kicked off the
man.
team back in like December or November for that.
So Florida's still doing that crime thing, huh?
They went a different direction, man.
Well, we don't know what else Aaron Hernandez was into.
No, but look, they bring in
Yeah, former UF quarterback faces years in prison, sex offender status if
Jesus.
convicted. So, not looking like he's going to be on the team.
Oh my God, what's John Kitna have to say?
this took a
about
turn.
But
it? Disavow.
year two for the offense there in Louisiana, his offense improved to 37.9 points per game. But again, obviously losing AR-15. But he seemed again not necessarily like the best guy to execute the offense. Like his appeal in the NFL is just like raw athletic talent. And you saw that in some of the plays he broke, but it wasn't like I don't know. I wouldn't say he executed the offense well. So maybe who is the starting quarterback first?
Well, I think Graham Mertz they brought in from Wisconsin. I think they're leaning that way, but they also have Jack Miller who started the bowl game. They got destroyed. So yeah,
if you're
concern.
bringing in quarterback talent from Wisconsin, that feels like a red flag, right?
Of course,
Jack Mertz
had a joke. Jack Cohn. Apparently, though, he failed upwards. Didn't the Niners sign him? Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's better than Trey Lance. They also
Brock Purdy's done a lot for just average white dude quarterbacks. Honestly.
They have Travis Etienne's brother, Trevor Etienne. To me, the red flag. They lost 4 of their offensive line starters.
A lot of reasons why this is so bad.
They were worst in the SEC last year in third down percentage, allowing 49.1. I mean, what's the case for optimism on the Gators, Colby? Like, what are they?
No, I was a skeptic on the Napier hire. I know he was good at Louisiana, but that part of the Sun Belt was really bad those years.
Yeah.
So he got to like, if you go back and watch those games when he had such great success, they were barely beating these bad teams. So I'm a skeptic. I know he can recruit well. I know he's got, years ago he had Saban connections. But you go back and look at last year. They lost to Vanderbilt. As we alluded to on the Vandy part,
yeah.
But also they got very fortunate to beat a couple teams that I remember that USF game. I felt like they should have lost. Also, I thought the Utes should have got them in the swamp. And you look at this year's schedule, where obviously Florida State's projected to be a lot better this year, and then Utah a favorite to among the favorites to win the Pac-12. So I think you see that they also get the cross division game every year. At LSU this year.
LSU is super tough.
Obviously, Brian Kelly in year 2 is going to be even tougher to beat, and then they get Arkansas, which I know Arkansas has never won at the Swamp, but Arkansas I think right now is a better football team. So you look at that schedule, and it's hard to find 6 wins. That's why I think most people are shocked when they see the Gators at 5.5 for the win total.
Yeah.
But
we'll walk through the schedule.
So
real quick,
I mean, and again, they're playing a road game.
Do you know
a non-conference road game? Colby has a great Pac-12 SEC stat.
But also, this is the first time they are playing a group of 5 out. Or I'm sorry, a Power 5 on the road.
Slip there
on the road
at their stadium
since 1988.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was shocked to see that they're playing Utah actually at Utah and not in some sort of big
in Lake Atlanta,
Texas or something. So then they have McNeese, the Cowboys, which everyone loves them
Florida's
at
getting
the FCS level.
Joe Dumars represent.
Florida's catching 9.5 against Utah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already coming. People are already betting on Florida. I think that number was north of 10 when it opened. Tennessee game 3, an early SEC game, and then they play the Klitz Charlotte 49ers week 4. Optimistically, you come in, you win, you somehow win a road game against Utah, and you're 2. Yeah, so I think Tennessee.
They have had Tennessee's number. They have. If you look at the historically, even
and I guess I would say it is.
Well, they haven't talked about programs.
We'll see what time that game is, but again, and maybe it doesn't affect Tennessee as much. But playing games in September in Florida is always hot.
It's a
Heat,
4 p.m.
humidity,
It's a 7 p.m. local time is the.
Tennessee's got an awful record in the Swamp. Now that I think that's a huge game for them. Actually, like both the SEC games in September I think are going to dictate their season.
Okay, I'm gonna have a basic take on college football this year. It is going to be hard to fade teams with like old ass quarterbacks. Now in this matchup with Tennessee and Florida, you have old ass Joe Milton, and who by the way called Jalen Hyatt the fastest man in the NFL like that. And versus old ass Graham Mertz. I mean, this is not an SEC battle.
No,
quarterback position.
That's a Michigan-Wisconsin battle.
Yeah. So I anyway, continuing. I think to Colby's point, perhaps they're able to pull out a third win here because I'm guessing they're going to beat McNeese and Charlotte.
No, I think, but I mean, Tennessee's probably going to be favored there.
Yeah,
and
Tennessee is favored there.
Yeah, and then the Kentucky game. Kentucky, ever since Kentucky's had their number lately. Kentucky's run, I think,
at Kentucky road game at we love the grocery store or whatever Colby calls it there in Kroger Field.
Blue light special in the end zone.
Vanderbilt, that's their home. Poor Vanderbilt has HC next to their name way too many times on the SEC schedule. Vanderbilt coming to town, and you go on the road against the Gamecocks of South Carolina, and then you have your bye week. I mean, honestly, to your point, if we just kind of stop at the bye week, we look at these 7 games. Even your most optimistic fan has 4 wins, right?
I think your most optimistic fan would say McNeese, Tennessee, Charlotte, and Kentucky, and Vandy.
Oh, so
I think
5.
they would say 5, right?
Okay,
but I don't.
But I don't think they're going to beat Kentucky.
I think 4 is pretty optimistic.
And then I don't know that they'll be favored the rest of the way. Maybe you can make the case for Arkansas. They're kind of like the mystery team out there. But getting Missouri on November 18th is that sneaky cold ass environment that the SEC has. Remember, Missouri was a Big 12 team for over 100 years.
So coming out of the bye, then it gets tough. You have Georgia, you got Arkansas coming to town, who bottom part of the SEC.
They never
West,
won in the Swamp though.
At LSU, at Missouri,
that's so tough.
Very difficult back-to-back.
And then Florida State at home.
Rivalry game. Florida State should be a good team this year relative to how they've been in the past. Like this is probably the first time in a while Florida State clearly going to be favored in this one.
Last year though. Oh yeah, Florida State turned that corner last year. But besides that,
I know it's preseason rankings, but you're playing 3 of the top 10 teams in the country after your bye week. So if you're taking the over, I think you gotta get to 4 or 5 wins before the bye week if you're looking to hit this. Because I don't see how they. I mean, I got them 3 and 4 before, and then maybe they win 2 games after the bye.
How strong is he with the boosters right now?
Well, I mean, they lost Jaden Rashada. Remember, he thought he was going to get $13 million in the NIL.
If they have no quarterback, because the quarterbacks that we listed are pretty shitty for Florida, and they don't, let's say they don't hit that optimistic mark of 4 in my mind, and coming out of the bye week, they're 3 and 4. Do we not have a potential problem?
Oh,
where we're
have
firing our
baby.
coach and we're completely slide.
I don't think they'll fire him because I think they give him. This is his second year.
Yeah, but where'd he come from? What's he done? You weren't high on the hire.
True, but they fired Dan Mullen. They fired Dan Mullen.
They're fire happy. I got to go under here.
I'm on the under too, though. I think it's too hard of a schedule.
Under.
Yeah, I think there's too many 50-50 games where if you look like Tennessee, Joe Milton is better than Graham Mertz to me. Now I know it's at the Swamp. Maybe you give him that one, but then you have the Kentucky game. And why would I just all of a sudden, make the think that Florida can come into Kroger and fucking get the win? I can't. And then the Arkansas game. I think that's a 50-50 game, but I still think they have to hit all of those. They have to go undefeated in those 50-50 games, and I think it's more likely they lose.
Agree. Next up, we have Kentucky, which of course, who can forget Kentucky? Mr. Stoops, the lesser known Stoops, who has the best contract in all the land. Every time Kentucky wins 7 games, AKA makes a bowl, I believe his contract gets extended for another year.
It's an awesome deal.
Yeah.
And if he, God help if he ever gets to 10, but 6.5 is the win total, -160 on the over, +130 to the under, 75 to win the division. 75 to 1 to win the division, 120 to 1 to win the SEC, and 130 to 1 to make the college football playoff. So once again, take that, not the conference, and national championship 200 to 1. Look, I think there's no handicap needed. They will win 7 games.
They always do,
because that's what the contract says.
They have a great beginning to their schedule. The whole month of September. The whole month they play 5 games in September.
My second comment is when we get to the schedule, which we will, it's very unlikely this team is like completely crushed out of the gate. So I think we're going to be optimistic about this team, and maybe that helps them grow and become a feisty opponent against the
6-1 to the 6-1 to the over 6.5 past 7 seasons, and it's tough to,
of course,
it's tough to imagine it not happening again.
Colby, if your contract said that if you did a certain amount of things, you got to keep doing those things, you would do that thing.
Oh, and he has done a great job.
No Canva bonuses for Colby. No. Bring in the Phil Steele magazine bonus. Contract bonus.
He has done a great job of like, hey, let's schedule 2 shitty MAC teams, an FCS squad. But I can tell you this, man, and this was what makes it interesting. So this year they draw Bama from the West, right? They get Mississippi State every year. You get one other opponent. They draw Bama. That's not good. And then you add the fact that Jeff Brom is back at Louisville. Now, Kentucky's owned Louisville lately.
Yeah.
But Brom is his dad coached at Louisville. He played at Louisville. He's been recruiting really well. He brought in a bunch of transfers. He took Purdue to the Big Ten championship. So I do think the schedule gets a little harder. And there's a case you could make for them, going 6-6 this year. But
let's look at the schedule.
Yeah,
what's the quarterback situation?
No Will Levis. They're bringing Devin Leary, NC State transfer, who's
always
off.
Thought he's a little overrated, but I mean,
kind of like Will Levis.
Yeah.
He's better than Will Levis. Is that a hot take?
Devin Leary, he's coming off a torn pec.
I like Levis more than Leary.
Better college quarterback, Will Levis or Devin Leary? You're taking Will Levis?
Yeah, I am.
Equal though.
Leary in big games to me has always been questionable, and some of that might have been NC State's offensive coordinator Tim Beck, but.
You know what? They're
Kentucky
similar.
Kentucky brought in Liam Cohen from the Rams for their OC. That might help their offense, right?
Yeah, I think he was at Kentucky. He was at Kentucky, I think, a few years prior. Okay. So he's
got some Kentucky
roots.
Came
back home.
Went west to learn how to train his dog, and came back to Kentucky.
But I mean, you got to love this September. This is a great September.
I mean, you start out 4-0,
let's go.
right?
Ball State.
I mean, maybe Vandy, who I'm high on, but yeah, keep going.
I mean, a couple MAC schools have kept it within 1 score. I wonder, but still, man, I still think Akron's a year away. Ball State, though,
this is just it. You get off to a great hot start. They're going to collapse in the middle, and then they'll get to the 7th.
Is a great example of a team that has an above-average SEC roster, and it shows you what they can end up doing and why Mark Stoops gets to win 7 games every year. Ball State. At home on the 2nd, we'll be out in Vegas for this one. Colby will be screaming at a TV somewhere. Eastern Kentucky.
No, we'll be in Vegas for Eastern Kentucky.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. We'll be Colby will probably not be screaming at a TV for this one. The Colonels, and then we have the Zips of Akron, who I'm gonna assume they're not. The come up isn't happening yet for Akron.
Hey, I like what they're doing, but I don't think they're there yet.
They're all at home too.
Yeah,
like it's not even.
It's basic.
A tricky road spot.
This is what I would consider to be a basic SEC schedule. Then you have at Vanderbilt, like alternating home road games here. Florida, at Georgia, Missouri. So going into the bye week again, right in the middle of the season for the bye. You have 7 games before. Hard to see them. Only
one real road game, because the Vanderbilt game, Kentucky fans will travel and it'll be 50-50.
Kentucky fans are they're close. I mean, we at some point you need to do the most obnoxious fan bases. Kentucky's up there. Like, bro, you're a basketball school, aren't you?
You know what happened last summer?
I've been hanging with Calipari.
Calipari almost got. I feel like the fans want him fired because he was staying there at basketball school, and Stoops has kind of changed that MO.
Yeah.
Football school, Kentucky.
Hey guys, we're mediocre at football every year. What do you? We're in the FCC. That's a good thing. So going to the bye, is it 6-1? Most likely.
I mean,
maybe
I think if you're a Kentucky fan, you got to think that because
maybe 5-2.
I think you could be
worst
6-1.
case 5-2 though, because.
Man, they're not dropping 2.
Yeah, worst case 5-2. But now that makes it interesting because I actually believe there's a shot that they're dogs in, 4 of the remaining 5 games.
Oh, okay, so coming off the bye, we come out Tennessee. Potentially, that's one of the games.
But you're at home, and we'll see how Tennessee.
But it's an
is
SEC. It's an SEC.
Tennessee's
game.
had their number though. I feel like, man.
I think there's a chance.
Even in the dark years, of
Tennessee laying 2.5 sounds about right. Then you have at Mississippi State.
That's a mystery game. That is one where like Mississippi State, the wheels could fall off. They're going with Zach Arnett, their DC. They're getting rid of what's crazy.
I know how this story goes. Unfortunately, I'll save my big version for the SEC West, but you can't shoot a dead man in the head, and so you got to shoot the dead man's assistant. And I think unfortunately the program's not looking to have.
Well, they're transitioning. They're not doing air raid. So as much as everyone's high on Will Rogers,
you're alluding to the fact that obviously post Leach they're gonna have to reset stuff. The first guy is always kind of the patsy. Yeah. He's going to get it bad.
But sometimes, Dabo Sweeney's a situation where he was an assistant with Tommy Bowden. Tommy Bowden gets fired, and Dabo ran with that thing. Yeah. So
the problem is, to me,
an outlier.
The transitioning out of the air raid, I think, could be difficult for them. But
very difficult. Anyway, so then you have they have quote relatively easy home games or road games. I would say a couple of them. Then they have Bama at home. That's tricky. Then you have at the Gamecocks and then at Louisville. As you said, Louisville, maybe that's an interesting back-to-back road spot there.
Well, it's really tricky because the week before Bama gets LSU. Now, I think most people have LSU favored to win the SEC West. A lot of people have them playing for the national championship.
Bama coming off a loss.
So and then Nick Saban is fantastic after losses historically throughout.
I agree,
his
career, and they have
an
FCS after that. So basically a bye week.
I'm on the over. A 6.5 feels very doable. There is, to Colby's point, if you trip up at all in that first half of the schedule, you could be behind the 8 ball. I still think they get to 7.
Well, just
pretty comfortably.
Just drawing Bama, they don't traditionally get Bama every year. So they get them once every 7 years or whatever. And then the Louisville angle, to me, that was normally a cakewalk. I'm telling you, I love the Jeff Brom hire at Louisville. I think he's going to spark.
I agree. Not this year.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a much more dangerous game because he'll scheme you. He'll scheme you up. He's a very good coach.
What's the win total, Sean? 6.5?
Yeah.
So if Mark Stoops needs his 7th win against a brand new head coach of a Louisville Cardinal team in a rivalry game, you don't think he's going to want to try to curb stomp that motherfucker? I don't think you
realize Jeff Brom, the Brom family is Louisville football. This is one that's personal, man.
Colby's heart's too close to this one. I'm with you. We're all agreeing once again on the over. Last one before a little
7-5. They're going to go 7-5.
7-5. Yeah. But that's we spent a lot of time saying the obvious. They always go 7-5. 7 wins is a lock with this man. Missouri 6.5 plus 105 to the over, minus 125 to the under, 40 to 1 to win the division, 120 to 1 to win the SEC. And again, value here, 130 to 1 to make the college football playoff. Bet that, not the conference. 300 to 1 to win the national championship. So somehow longer odds than Kentucky and Florida.
I mean, for me, the Missouri Tigers made a nice
different Tiger though.
Yes, different kind of Tiger. Last year, 8.7 less points per game than the first year under Blake Baker, defensive coordinator. 8 returning starters on the defensive side, 2nd in the SEC. Tackles for losses. I guess to me, the question is, is it going to be Brady Cook, Colby, dealing with an off-season surgery? What do we do? What are they doing at quarterback? Because I feel like their defense is going to be pretty solid. They got Luther Burden, the third true freshman, 45 catches, 6 touchdowns,
5-star man. It was a huge recruit for them. But
again, quarterback, where are we at?
Well, they brought in Patty C's boy, Jake Garcia, who was a big-time recruit to Miami. And I think he could end up being the starter. I don't know, him or Cook. I think that's going to probably decide their season because Garcia has flashed at times. Cook, at moments looked all right. At moments he also looked really bad. And I think the uncertainty is going to be the difference if they're good or not.
No, because I think this team in particular is one of the harder ones to handicap because of that big question at quarterback. You feel pretty safe with their defense, at least relatively in the SEC. But yeah, big questions.
I mean, this is another schedule though that I feel like the month of September they don't leave the state of Missouri. They do, but it's at Vanderbilt. So like it's a dream scenario to build momentum. A lot of times I think in college football you'll see like a team. I remember Syracuse went 10-3 a few years ago, and they weren't very good, but they built that momentum on a favorable schedule and were able to pull an upset because they started believing, hey, we're 6-0. You know what I mean? Like
culture doesn't help you win. Winning helps you build culture. Yeah,
I like that. That's the mirror.
That's how it works, though. Because to your point, if they start winning early, like we've discussed, some of these teams can just completely implode. That's a topical reference. And just the rest of the schedule will just it'll just disintegrate. And I think more and more in the SEC, we're going to see these short, like people getting happy with the trigger finger when it comes to like, oh, why aren't we having success already? Why is this team still shitty?
Now they do draw LSU from the West.
Yeah, I mean, let's walk through the schedule because it seemed this was one of the more obvious win totals to me. But in typical SEC fashion, they got the non-con opening. South Dakota, the Coyotes as they say locally. Then you got Middle Tennessee.
Watch out. They beat Miami at Miami last year. Rick Stockstill. Great NASCAR name.
I once rode a mechanical bull in Middle Tennessee or at Middle Tennessee's campus. This is how much we should have gotten. Colby, you should have had all the how much money are they paying this team to come play.
Oh, that's a fun graphic. No more Canva.
Kansas State, who whooped their ass last year, and then Memphis.
And Kansas State brings back everybody.
Oh my goodness.
That's
K-State's going to be tough.
Is this accurate? The Memphis game will be in the Dome in St. Louis?
The Rams in the XFL filthy stadium.
Oh, Battlehawks.
Yeah.
So they lost a home game?
No, it's still a home game for them. It's just
they lost a home game.
They cater to their St. Louis audience.
Oh, they're going to lose that game now.
No, Memphis isn't that good.
They'll
fuck up Memphis.
Really?
Yeah. I think the K-State game is the one you circle.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, that could be trouble.
Easy peasy. So then you're moving along. You got at Vanderbilt, LSU at home, at Kentucky, South Carolina at home. This is a tough stretch for me.
They get LSU though on the back-to-back away. That's an interesting spot because if there's one,
LSU has a back-to-back away.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, and if there's one stadium that I feel like just Georgia almost lost at Missouri.
It is a weird spot.
It is the weirdest stadium out of all of them.
Like a high school stadium.
Well, it's just a weird trip.
Like how are they
up in the Missouri?
So Missouri is the
up in the Missouri.
Missouri is the wacky long trip in the conference.
Yes, I would say
with
for
a
sure.
different climate.
It's the one. Yeah, exactly. Like you get in, especially like October, November. There's games with snow and shit. You know what I mean? Like so.
And we're gonna play the game real quick because the people are really bad at geography for the flyover states.
I already pulled it up.
Oh, okay.
I'm out.
Colby.
Wow, that's where Columbia is, huh?
How many states can you name that border?
Well,
Missouri.
I know.
Don't look at my screen.
Okay, but I know Illinois because they have the huge rivalry.
Yep.
That they used to play before.
Yep.
It's all rivalry based.
Yep. That's one.
Kansas because Kansas Missouri was a big rivalry.
That's two.
Arkansas.
That's three.
Kentucky.
That's four.
Okay. How about Indiana?
That's not one.
Damn. Okay.
Illinois is in between them. Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Tennessee.
Iowa touches Missouri.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Iowa always fucks me up.
Yeah.
It's just there.
I think where Iowa and Idaho are, I always get them mixed
It's just
up.
there. It's why.
Shout out to Cedar Rapids.
Fun thing that you fun.
Shout out to Waterloo.
Fun dad nugget that you can always blow people's mind with is that Denver, Colorado, very close to the center of the country, geographic, which is that blows my mind every time. All right, back to Missouri. We were in the schedule. I think we got completely sidetracked.
I actually kind of like where they get LSU. Now I'm not gonna take them to beat LSU, but I'm saying like it's a nice spot to
do it at home.
Off of a back-to-back away for them.
So all right, so they have 3 winnable games at the top in the non-con.
Maybe 4.
No, they're capable of beating Kansas State, but I think Kansas State's just better than them right now. So I would favor K-State. But K-State's one of these teams where they play close. You know what I mean? So they could win that game, but I'm going to favor K-State. So I got them 3. I think they go 4-1 in September.
Yeah, and then they have LSU at Kentucky and South Carolina. which is not the easiest stretch here.
True. But also you're getting South Carolina at Columbia, Missouri. Like I feel like they've had a lot of problems there.
8 games before the bye. You think they potentially could be 6-2?
I think they could.
Yeah.
I think they could. Now I think it's more likely they're 5-3.
Yeah, I'll agree with a 5-3 take.
4-4.
All right. Then you got the bye week. Then at Georgia, Tennessee. A lot of these will hinge on how good Tennessee is. I reckon. Florida.
They're beating Florida. It's too cold in November 18th.
I agree with that take. And it might be the same take for Tennessee.
I know what I'm
and
saying,
at
like-
Arkansas. You know, Colby, you're kind of swaying me on the Missouri take here. Arkansas is not very good. I think they can even win that game.
I think it's a winnable game. I think it's a 50-50 game, but I kind of like this is something we should talk about. I like when you have the away game at Georgia because you're going to lose anyway.
Chuck it.
Why waste a home game on Georgia?
Exactly.
It's like Kentucky.
So
you're not going to win against Mark Stoops.
I'll take the over because
I'm going under just because of the questions at quarterback. I think it's a team I could be betting on if we early on see something out of the quarterback position. But as far as the win total, I'm going under.
I'm with Colby. There's always a weird team that wins more games.
I could see 7. Look, South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, Memphis, Vanderbilt. That's 4.
Yes.
Right.
I'm in.
I think they always kind of whoop South Carolina's ass in Columbia. I feel like so that'd be 5.
The Gamecocks are gonna drop some games they shouldn't.
Florida and Tennessee, possible 6-7, and then you have the K-State game or the Kentucky game. I think 7-5. They could do 7-5.
Wait, did you just have to throw in an extra win to get to 7-5?
No, I had to.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh,
There's a lot of 50-50 games.
A lot.
There's like 4 or 5 50-50 games.
I was not high on them, and then you're talking about the fucking weather.
It's also a make or break year for Drinkowitz.
You know what? He could get give me the under. I'm not taking overs for guys who are on the hot seat.
Well, and he's
not in
had
the SEC.
All 3 years he's had a different starting quarterback.
Because
there's not any consistency.
No, and no one manages the expectations of these fucking schools. They all think they're Alabama.
I like the fact though they have to get Georgia on the road, and I think getting Tennessee and Florida, get Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, and LSU at home. Now LSU is the only one that you would think clear loss, but at least you get them on the back-to-back away. It's a nice schedule. It's a nice schedule for them.
All right.
Hey, before we get to South Carolina underdog fantasy, Ryan, we're obviously been doing a ton of these underdog fantasy best ball mania drafts. Best ball mania 4 is here. They're giving away $15 million in prizes. I mean, they also have this sweet underdog pick'em. Again, essentially over under. They have NFL season long player props that you can get down on. I mean, Jalen Hurts, 11.5 rushing touchdowns, over 23.5 passing touchdowns, over 35, 50.5 passing yards, over.
And as we get closer to the season, Sean, there will be college football.
Yeah, they got some college football stuff. They had college baseball going as well. A lot of fun over there. Daily MLB over under pick'ems as well. It's a summer, perfect time to get set up over at underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN. Get a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN.
All right, now we head to the top half. One more team at 6.5. The Gamecocks of South Carolina, led by my guy Shane Beamer. This was part of what factored in my Missouri under, by the way. I knew I was going over on Shane. Plus 120 to the over, minus 140 to the under. I hope they don't choke. There's too many expectations. This is the obvious. If I wasn't rooting for the Beamer family, this would be the obvious team who's going to trip and fall flat this year. 15-1, and maybe the coach who gets fired. 15-1. For the division,
no.
95-1.
He just beat Clemson
for the
and
conference.
Tennessee,
and he's had back-to-back improving years. 7-6 his first year, 8-5. I don't know if they can make that next jump up.
Listen to these odds, because I think the odds disagree with you. 15-1 for the division, 95-1 for the conference. So typically we see the odds go up for the college football playoff after here, and we're like, hey, better value to bet the playoff. 41-1 to make the college football playoff.
They think there's a world where South Carolina doesn't win the conference win the conference and sneaks in to that that second SEC spot that they've essentially guaranteed these past couple of years.
Yes.
Man. Well, again, it's still 41 41
I
to
think
1.
the argument is that, or here's my guess. So the people that bet into these kind of markets,
Yeah.
identify South Carolina as a team that was valuable because their odds were they probably opened at like 70 to 1 or something, and they got bet down to a strange number, 41 to 1, and what realistically no chance, right?
For them to win the SEC West, yeah. Or
I mean,
SEC
wouldn't
East?
you-
No, I
To
don't
make
think
the
they-
playoff.
Nah.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you rather take Spencer Rattler to win the Heisman or something like that? Because how do they?
No, because I don't think who the fuck's voting for that guy?
Well, I'm just saying,
it's a voting award.
Imagine a world where they do win the conference, or get into the college football playoff. How do they do that without him having a huge year?
That's the answer to the question, though. They make the college football playoff maybe because of Spencer Rattler, right? Like,
Yeah.
No.
perhaps his
They're not ready for that big of a jump.
perhaps he becomes the star that he was sold as coming out of high school. And
I mean, they
that's
had
the tipping
they
point.
had
Anyway,
a couple of huge upsets last season.
that's why the hype is here.
Now that can work two ways, right? Because obviously getting those upsets is awesome, and it's a sign you're a team on the rise. And then you maybe it's not so much of an upset because you're getting a little hype and you lean into that. Or it could be like, oh shit, those were outlier games. We're really not that good, and you fall back. It really can work both ways.
This is one SEC school that got kind of destroyed in the portal. I thought Jordan Birch, their best defensive end, goes to Oregon.
No.
They lost the other edge rusher, Gilbert.
What about
Edmond,
their
to Florida
defense
State.
in general? The run defense looks like potential massive liability. Colby, how say you?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think there's some red flags on this team as far as like they got really hurt in the portal, and if I know they have some good freshmen coming in, but I don't like
It
this.
just sounds
team.
so funny.
I don't like this team. I
no.
think the schedule's really hard too. When you add in, they play 10 Power Fives. They get Clemson and North Carolina, and then they got that sneaky November 4th game. We were in Vegas a couple years ago when Jacksonville State beat Florida State at Florida State.
that was fun.
Oh no!
Well, you know who their head coach is? It's Rich Rodriguez.
Oh
All right?
my god, I love Rich Rod.
Their quarterback Zion Webb's a Clemson transfer. I just think that's a sneaky game. But look at the road trips they got to go to as well.
All right,
So
let's talk schedule. Oh my god, Tar Heels. Maybe we'll get a early season Mac dancing after the game here. Tar Heels.
That's where it happened when he beat Carolina in his first game.
No, that's
when he's dancing.
So I mean, this is loose rivalry.
Yeah, I mean this is a rivalry game, but they should play more often. Yes,
I like how they open the season with it. It's great. It's like a preseason bowl game.
In
give
Charlotte.
me more of this.
Yeah, in Charlotte.
Little neutral seat, neutral.
It used to be called Jerry Richardson Stadium.
Yeah, that's ACC country. That's ACC country there in Charlotte. Then they got Furman, another rivalry.
Hey, watch
right?
out, man! That's an FCS playoff team. That is an FCS playoff team. I'm telling you, man.
You know what? I just cashed the over on Colby saying watch out for some
Watch out.
for an FCS upset, and perfect time to remind people the FCS college football experience
Yes.
feed is coming as well.
Yeah.
Dropped an episode last week.
Yeah.
Got another one scheduled for Thursday.
It sounds like we should launch a feed.
Yeah,
Let's put that
go.
on the calendar for this week. All right. We got Furman. Like I said, another little intrastate rivalry there. Then you got at Georgia, you got Mississippi State at home, and you got at Tennessee. This is tough. Stuff. You got the bye week early, only 5 games here. What's the optimistic fan saying, Colby?
I think you could be 3-2, maybe even 4-1 if you get that Tennessee game.
Tennessee's tricky, but obviously
3-2, I think, is what your fans should be thinking.
Yeah, UNC though, you like them. You like them week 1, Colby.
What's the number, Sean? Did you look it up?
I think that's a ball game, man. You got Drake May, who might be the top pick of the NFL
No,
draft.
I'm saying I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun game. I kind of think it's a coin flip game. Like they're very similar teams.
I'd
to me.
imagine
Like,
South Carolina is dogs in 3 of their games. 3 of these first.
South
5.
Carolina catching 1.5 against UNC.
There you go.
Yeah.
Barely. So yeah, we can say 2.5 to 3 to wins, but depending on how optimistic you are. Then come out of the bye, you got Florida at Missouri, It's only October.
I told you they normally. I got to pull that up. They normally always lose at Missouri, man.
Colby has Missouri going 12-0 last I checked. Then you have a back-to-back road spot at Texas A&M. Hopefully they don't get distracted by the parades. Lots of parades. Then you got the Jacksonville State game. I mean, wow. So coming off back-to-back
game for Jacksonville State, right? Normally they play these type of games early on.
No, it's a bye week.
No. They're the SEC notorious for throwing the FCS game in November. The only problem is they didn't count on Jacksonville State going FBS, huh?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say why they schedule the team that has.
Well, but is Jacksonville State going to still be good now that Dion's gone and all?
This is Rich Rod.
No. This
sorry.
not Jackson State. This is Jacksonville State.
How dare you, Sean?
Yeah.
Just because they, Jacksonville State game, the Gamecocks versus the Gamecocks.
Oh,
it's basically a cockfight.
Yeah, this is fun. This is fun.
Do they call it? Is this another
marketing the
cockbowl? This is the cockbowl.
Wow.
Police might break this game up.
I love how many rivalries the South Carolina has between Furman and the Gamecock rivalry. Beautiful. Then you have Vanderbilt, another rivalry game. I mean, this is a very easy schedule. The way I'm looking at it, Colby.
Really?
Then you have Kentucky. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
Then I want to be high on them. Then you have Clemson, another rivalry game.
And here's
so
the thing.
many rivalries.
They beat Clemson last year.
Clemson's going to fuck them up.
I think they are. I think Clemson, they probably are.
Everyone is down on Clemson this year.
They got rid of Big Cinco. He was holding them down.
Shout out to our
brought
Beavers.
in Lincoln Riley's brother, who was the OC from TCU.
Clemson's going to be. I hate to say it, but the Clemson's going to be good.
But I do. If you're looking to the over, don't you like the idea of if they're close, if they're sitting at 6 or 5? Don't you like the fact that you're getting 4 home games to close out the season?
Yeah,
like
the
that
whole
to
month
me
of November's at home.
Yeah.
And you're getting basically Vanderbilt is not really like a Power 5, so you're getting Jacksonville State and Vanderbilt. 2 of those aren't even really.
I'm going
Power
over.
5.
I'm going over.
I'm on the under, man. I just think it's too hard of a schedule. I think there's too many games that they could like. I have them beating Florida.
Yep.
Florida could still beat them. You know what I mean? Like that's a 50-50 game. I have them beating Mississippi State. Okay, I actually feel like they'll probably beat Mississippi State.
Yep.
But the Carolina game is a 50-50 game to me. We have automatic losses to me at Georgia. I'm favoring Tennessee. I think they lose to Missouri. I think they're going to go 0-4 on the road. So then the question is well, where can they? Are they going to go undefeated at home?
They're going to lose to Clemson.
So that's 5 losses, right? And then,
so I'm at 5 losses, like hard, easy.
And then you have the Carolina game in Charlotte, which is a 50-50. That could be number 6.
You've really. I was going to be on the over, and now there's 5 losses to me out of the gate, and so Kentucky. I'm going to throw Jacksonville State in there for you, Colby. Mississippi State and UNC.
Florida as well.
And UNC is kind of a road game, so if we say they lose their road games, that's 5 plus Clemson. That's 6. I'm already at the under.
Yeah, I think
what
6
are we doing
6
here?
is what they're doing.
What are we doing? So now I got to flip on Missouri then. Do I have to flip on Missouri?
You better start thinking about yours, buddy.
I don't know what to do here. All right, under.
Kramer's blowing up his whole episode.
I think they have one of the hardest schedules in the SEC.
Well, Sean, you know content is king, and I opt to not look at the schedule before we are on the air. You may argue it hurts my preparation, but
bold strategy, Cotton.
Bold strategy. All right.
So what are you doing, Ryan?
I'm going under. I just told you I found 6 losses.
I'm the lone Shane Beamer hype train.
Well, he needs to get fired so he can come home.
He's not going to get fired this year. They're happy.
He needs to get fired so he can come home. Coach Pry is building the home, but Coach Pry is not going to be the man that lives in the home. I'm very concerned about Coach Pry. Tennessee, the Vols 9.5 plus 145 to the over, minus 185 to the under, 40 plus 430 to win the division. Wow. 16-1 to win the conference, 13-1 to make the college football playoff, and national championship 25-1. I'm curious on Colby's take here. I obviously haven't listened to the preview episode because Tennessee, he hasn't gotten to the tees yet.
Yeah, but I did a deep dive on
this is is this the most overpriced team in college football?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're up there because you look at last season and Josh Heupel, unbelievable year, did a great job, but they won all their close games pretty much. Go back to the Pitt game in overtime when Keaton Slovis gets knocked out. The Alabama game that they really probably should have lost. You go through and look at all those close games they played.
Maybe South Carolina can beat them. I also don't like Milton. Milton's a bum. Like he he was the guy that was like, why the fuck aren't they play?
He's got a rocket arm though. I was watching him the other day on that.
He's
on
gonna,
that
you know
video.
what?
Why is Peyton,
Colby?
is Peyton Manning doing anything for their NIL?
No,
Their NIL is actually like might be the best in the nation.
that wouldn't surprise me. Their fans are very near the top of the obnoxious power rankings.
And I did make a note as we're going through these previews. I've made notes of guys I want to be riding this season.
Ooh.
Squirrel White is definitely a guy.
Really?
That's
that's
come on.
a real name.
Squirrel White. Colby, give me
It's
your
not white squirrel.
no. Give me your take
Native
on
American
Squirrel
or
White.
something?
Oh, I mean, look, it's. I'm hoping he's from the great state of Tennessee because that would make it even better. But yeah, their receiving core is going to be fine, dude.
Because anytime they have a good catch, I'm just gonna go Squirrel White finds a nut.
And then they got Brew McCoy, who was like a 5-star at Texas and USC.
This better be a nickname.
Yeah, so I think their receiving core is going to be fine, but I do worry. Like I said, they won all their close games.
I love all the nickname background. Nickname originated from his great grandmother, who called him Squirrel as an infant after he moved simultaneously with a squirrel in her garden.
Wow.
That's again, Squirrel though is just such an awesome nickname.
What position? Defensive back.
Receiver.
Oh, that makes
Perfect
sense.
name for
Yeah.
perfect name for a receiver.
I'm just picturing a white guy with a mullet.
Oh no, he is not white.
Well, I mean,
What about their defense?
Can't see colors too well.
127th against the pass last year. That could be a problem.
man, who cares about
In
defense?
this
when you can play
conference.
offense.
And to me, the big thing is
Bama, Florida, and Kentucky on the road.
well, just having Bama and Georgia on the schedule.
Yeah.
Bama and Georgia.
Who
on
gets
the
drafted
schedule.
higher, but Milton or Hendon Hooker?
Milton.
You think Milton helps his stock more?
He's got I guess Hooker has a cannon
It's
too.
I mean, you would expect a guy in his second year, in his like 6th year of college football, could pick up the simplest system in college football and throw to the athletes they have.
yeah.
They lost Tillman and Hyatt. Anyone else?
I mean,
It doesn't matter. They have enough guys.
I don't really feel. I feel like those wide receivers are fine. That they
Yeah,
have.
I just I want them to trip and fall, but then you look at the schedule and we'll roll it out here. They open against UVA, where they will
they're
be
like 28-point favorites for this one.
It's a neutral site in
Stupid. Why would Virginia agree to that? Yeah, we'll play a one-off neutral site in Nashville.
Who
Yeah.
plays at Nissan
How
Stadium?
is that neutral
Yeah.
for Tennessee?
Is that where the Titans play?
Yeah.
So they're going to play in the Titans Stadium against UVA. They'll be searching for an answer to the question of what is a Wahoo. Although shout out to FB Schedules for calling them the Cavaliers. That's nice of you. Then they go Austin P, the Governors, Sean's Governors,
Oh, love those guys.
back at home, and then they have at Florida, which we discussed that maybe a tricky spot down there in the swamp early in the season. UTSA, who preseason ranked Sean number 23, the Roadrunners at
Frank
home.
Harris is back.
And then the
Love
Gamecocks.
those run.
Gamecocks at home. What stands out to me is you have 3-4 virtually home games before the early bye week. But this feels like if I said, what's the optimistic fans say, it's 5-0. What's the pessimistic fans say, it's 4-1.
I just don't.
They could be 5-0.
How the hell do they get to 10 games? Between Milton and the schedule, 10 games just seems
Well, all
like
right,
it.
so
I get.
What do you got?
I get
in here?
Heupel and
You get 3-2, 4-1. We should be.
I think they'll be favored in all 5. I got them 5-0.
All right, 5-0. Then
I'll
they
go 4-1.
Come out of the bye. You got A&M
Loss.
at home.
That's probably the loss. Road Rash Face is now at A&M. That offense is going to move
yeah,
if Fisher lets him.
that's why I brought him
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
he needed help in the offense.
Fisher's had
A&M had like #1 recruiting class. Like they have legit talent.
Has Fisher brought guys in before, offensive minds?
No, he's been the guy. That's what I'm saying. So he's he's a control freak. But
So then you would expect them to have an offense with that talent.
well, that's what I'm saying. So if they can,
All right.
I feel like A&M can get them. A&M's
Maybe a
more
dark
talented
horse
team.
when we get into the SEC West. At Alabama and
Loss.
then at Kentucky. This is a brutal stretch.
And this is a horrible time to play Kentucky because I think
Yeah.
you're gonna give it all at Alabama.
Revenge game. From
Revenge
last year.
game for
Yeah.
Alabama in Alabama, and then it's going to be tough to get up for a tough spot at Kentucky the following week. And then you got UConn,
and then the UConn. I mean, we're
Jim Mora Jr.,
we're gonna
baby.
laugh. Yeah. So
He's
getting
got
back
that
on the
program
show.
play. Got him bowling.
This is their homecoming game,
which
and
is
UConn. And I would say
Mora's ready to fuck shit up.
feels like a trap. Now, probably won't have them there, but as you pointed out, Mora does seem to be a little bit. What do you say when someone's at a rank too low for what they're up to? I mean, the program seems to be turned around. He's saying things like he wants to stay there forever.
Wants to win a national championship there. He said,
which is very interesting.
which would be their second national championship this decade.
This would be a tough game for them. They will be presenting the crowns for king and queen at halftime. So I'm sure the crowd will be super yoked, super lit, as Colby would say. Or maybe I've heard Colby might have a new lit this fall. So
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that. At Missouri and then Georgia and then
the Missouri game is so perfect if you're a Missouri fan, because every Tennessee fan I know has been mentioning the fact that Georgia comes to Neyland on November 18th.
No, this is a classic opportunity for them.
Yeah.
Flip me on Missouri. Give me over on Missouri. That's enough. I love a cold weather SEC story.
I'm on the under. I think they're probably going to be like 8-4, something like that.
So you said 5-0 early. It's hard to find outside of UConn. Your win is Vanderbilt after. So you've got we literally.
I mean, even if they pull the upset against Georgia, let's just play devil's advocate.
10-3 would be a really good season for this Vols team. Like a really, and this is Milton. I mean, I get the Tennessee offense should be really good, but there's still a ton of. I mean, am I missing something, Colby? Like, what? Aren't you pretty worried about this defense still?
They're going to lose to Georgia, A&M, and Alabama,
and they play some teams who can throw the ball.
And then they have Kentucky and Missouri on the road.
That's exactly to me. It just seems like they're due for a little regression here because of getting Bama.
And maybe they do shock the world and get that win over Georgia, but I still think they could lose to Missouri the game before, or
A&M and
be still celebrating and somehow lose the van. Like there's a lot of ways this can go wrong for Tennessee.
I mean, as far as a talent perspective, if you buy into the Patty C angle here, A&M, Alabama, and Georgia are all more talented. So that's three teams that are going to be more talented.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure Bud Elliott hasn't put it out yet, but which teams do you project to be on the blue chip? It's out of this. It's just. I mean, it's just the teams you just listed, right?
Yeah. I would say like those three would be.
Which is what 50 greater than 50% of your roster is made up by 5 and 4
He buys
stars.
into that, and look, he's great he's good at his job. But I just
Patty C buys into that too.
But I also think like today's college football is so much different with the portal. Like,
sure.
If you're looking at that 10 years ago, I'd buy into that a lot more.
Well, let's see if the data changes. But for now, basically, if your roster's made up of mostly 4 and 5 stars.
I mean, TCU played in the national championship. They didn't have that, but they got their ass
but
whooped.
they lost, and the table the theory behind it is the table stakes for being not getting there, but being good enough to get there and win. Because I think your portal argument is valid, but then as the playoff expands, it will just create more variance, meaning real good teams will actually rise to the top more often. Under clearly, I think
even lack potential,
even without a talking schedule, I think just trip and fall potential is very high, and I do think there's a very strong chance that Hendon Hooker was just a much better college quarterback than what they're going to get out of Milton. Or do they have another? They have another kid, I think.
The 5-star recruit Nico Mannion from Long Beach, man.
I love how you call him Nico Mannion.
Not Nico Mannion. It's
Nico Mannion was our crush during DGen Madness.
No. It's Nico. What the fuck is his last name?
He's got some awesome.
It's a crazy last name, but he got like $8 million
but he's not going to play this year.
No, he might.
Nico, I'm Leva. I'm Leva.
Yeah,
is that really his name? I'm Leva.
Leva, something like that.
That's a great Nico. I'm a Joe Milton's got a Leva.
I think they paid him like $8 million to come here, right? That was
not going to work here
right?
anymore. All right, Georgia. Big NIL deal. Maybe he plays, but to me, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks, Colby. Georgia. And that was actually what settled them last year was Hendon Hooker being the guy. They wanted Milton to be the guy. That's big red flag.
That tells you everything.
Georgia 11.5 plus 120 to the over, minus 140 to the under. minus 360 to win the division, plus or minus 105 to win the SEC. Wow. Minus 210 to make the college football playoff. Wow. Plus 220 to win the national championship, which is basically like a 6-point dog.
Get on
a
that.
Sunday.
Get on that.
Really?
Yeah.
You like Georgia?
The schedule's easy as fuck.
Dude, they only have 3 true road SEC
wow.
games, which is insane. Stetson Bennett, you lost him. I guess Carson Beck, though, you feel good about him.
Like, if you're actually like paying attention to the recruiting thing, I mean, they're supposed to be better this year than last year.
Yeah.
So
I was doing the debate. Better football name: Brock Bowers, tight end, or Ladd McConkey, receiver.
They're both football names, like old football names.
He's
When you
one
hear
of
the
those guys who will get
when you hear the
penetration.
I mean,
Trump,
Ladd McConkey.
Yeah,
It
you
sounds like
gotta
a
go.
guy who was should be running the Wishbone offense.
I mean, it's the kind of football that's played to the sound of a trombone.
It's I mean, it sounds like something Colby would be tweeting out a black and white photo of, talking about this is when football was football, when guys like Ladd McConkey ruled the field.
shout out to Phil
tundra.
McConkey. I think he's playing on that. The former Giants wide receiver.
Just sounds like an old school football name. I mean, Georgia's just going to be dominant. You know, last year,
No relation, though, by the way.
last year, and I think we, at least I think I fell for it a little bit. It was like, oh man, they lost all these good players to the NFL. There's no way the defense can be as good.
They were.
And they were better in a lot of metrics. I mean, they destroyed Oregon. I was trying to find the numbers, but I think they might be a double-digit favorite in every game.
I mean,
Even
their
at
schedule
Tennessee,
is easy, man.
did they?
Like, look, let's be honest.
Well,
like, we think okay, Kentucky.
Who did they dodge? That was key.
Well, they draw. Well, first off, they don't play Bama or LSU.
Yeah,
Or speed traps.
They get Auburn, but Auburn's been in this.
Oh, it's gonna walk right through my hilarious
man.
avoiding speed traps joke. Come on, that's hilarious. You want to just walk through it, because it is the kind of one where it's like, well, let's go find the loss, because that's what we have to do.
Yeah, sitting at 11.5.
UT Martin, that's not going to be a loss. At home, Ball State. At home. Ball State's got a tough schedule this year.
They play a lot of SEC teams, you know.
Ball State opens the year.
And no Carson Steele.
They open the year at Kentucky, at Georgia. God bless Ball
That's
State.
why Carson Steele transferred. We're gonna have to.
He got out of there just in time. Then you have South Carolina, Gamecocks at home.
Yep.
Which I guess the
Four home games to start the season.
CBS is optimistic. They have this in the 12:30 Pacific window on CBS. So they're hoping for a little turmoil here. Then you have UAB, who I'm not up to speed on our Dragons this year.
Trent Dilfer's their new head coach.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he has 0 college experience. He's saying outlandish things already. It's fantastic.
I like Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
I like his takes on quarterbacks.
It's like Urban Meyer without coaching experience.
He likes Trent Dilfer, so he knows that Brady's not the best ever. Huh?
he's like Deion Sanders without the drip.
That's going to be a sound
I can't
drop.
wait to do the Pac-12 conference.
That's going to be
all in on Deion.
That's going to be a sound drop that ages poorly. Sean's pro Trent Dilfer take. Worst quarterback who won a Super Bowl.
Sorry, Ryan. I was just. I wanted to make sure. I didn't mean to step on what you were trying to say.
They then have at Auburn, who what's the current temperature check on Auburn?
I mean, they brought in Hugh Freeze, but
Not dead. All
If
right.
you're gonna, that's why it's great. Like,
Love Hugh
honestly,
Freeze.
if that game was in November, you might say, "Hey, Freeze might have him going," but the fact you still get him in September, I think it's a huge advantage for Georgia.
You got Kentucky at home, and then you have at Vanderbilt, which, as you've mentioned, for every one of Vanderbilt's game, that's going to be a home game for Georgia.
Mm-hmm. So basically, one away game through the whole fucking season.
That's the start of the season. That's the first 7.
Their second away game is
right.
November 18th.
What are you circling here for potential upset alert? Kentucky and South Carolina?
No,
nothing.
Not in between
Spencer,
the hedges.
not
I think there's one, and it's on November 18th.
Yeah, at
Okay.
Tennessee. That's it.
All right, so they can't potentially drop Auburn. They're not going to be looking ahead to Kentucky. Off the bye week, you got Florida, which this is the neutral site,
World's biggest cocktail party.
The world's biggest cocktail party with hot tubs in Jacksonville. again, this is another game at that 12:30 window, so they're projecting fun times. Dude, this feels like a fucking blowout.
They're gonna go undefeated.
Missouri at home, Ole Miss at home, and then they don't really. So the unfriendly confines of Jordan Hare Stadium, First Bank Stadium, and then Neyland Stadium for Tennessee, in Knoxville, and then at Georgia Tech to end the year. Georgia Tech still transitioning away from the triple option in perpetuity.
Yeah, I mean, this schedule is incredible. Like they
where's
don't play anybody.
At Tennessee is the loss.
If any, it would be there, but I think they're better than Tennessee. So I think they're going to go undefeated.
Well, most importantly, I don't think
you're getting plus odds on the over 11.5.
Heupel's system. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Are we all on the over, Georgia?
Yep.
Dogs.
Poor SEC East. I wanted to have a hot take. All right? So then I guess what do you want to do here, Sean?
Well, last year we did 2 locks. We all went 1-1 here in the SEC East. I'll start things off, or no, Kramer, you're the lock leader. 2 locks and then maybe let's do 2 locks and then your favorite future if you got one here.
All right, so I think I want to lock up a couple unders. I think they're the teams that I trip and fall potential is high. Let's lock up Florida.
Okay.
At 5.5.
See, I like that. It just the 5.5 feels. It's like if I could get 6.
Projected starting quarterback again, Colby. One more time for the
Graham Mertz.
Yeah, you're right.
Which, by the way, he does have his name trademarked, so that he has that going for him. I also just think there are certain institutions that we all live by, and Mark Stoops winning 7 games is one of them.
Shit.
So I do think you should shop these numbers. The prices we're giving out are FanDuel. You can find better for Kentucky, I think. And then for the future, I think we workshopped it pretty well. And at minimum, I think you're going to find your way into some sort of hedge opportunities. But I guess do you just take a piece of Georgia to win the national championship?
Yeah.
Is that the way to play it, or do you take them to win the conference?
Well, what's great is Georgia will probably get, if it goes chalk the way everyone's thinking, I think it would be Georgia LSU again in the SEC.
So we don't even care about their quarterback because he's better than Stetson Bennett.
I mean, I think all 3 of them. Stetson Bennett was a fucking walk on. You know what I mean? But
he was old as shit.
Yes, that's the one thing you worry about. But
are any of these quarterbacks old as shit?
Not like that.
Not like that.
Yeah.
That's like
he still hasn't graduated.
Are her tits big? Not like that.
All right, for me, Vandy lock came in last year. I'm going to run it back. Give me Vanderbilt over 3.5. And for my other lock, I did like 6.5 for Kentucky. Man, that feels good.
It's okay to overlap.
Yeah.
And it would also it would match your taking really big prices.
All right, just for that insult, I'm going to give you.
You know what? I was going to pull up another site.
I'm going to give you South Carolina over 6.5 plus 120.
Ooh,
fade you, losers.
Sean, do you have a maximum price you're willing to lay on a season win total?
I mean, again, minus 160 is probably right up against it. Although I did take Vanderbilt at minus 170. I'm fine taking over 4. So depending on when you're able to bet these, I think Vanderbilt wins 4 or 5 games.
I don't put limits on it. If there's value, there's value.
Kramer's just a plus EV head. I want to give out something spicy here.
Oh wow! What can you do? What's the There's no spicy take here.
South Carolina to win the division.
There's no meatballs. No one else is winning this division.
Yeah, it's pretty chalk.
The third place team is 5 wins removed from the top team.
I'll just give out Georgia to win the conference at minus 105.
Oh, interesting. So just real quick, why if they win the conference, they're going to be the 1 seed.
No, but that's where I think if they lose a game, it's going to be to LSU or Bama in the SEC championship, and they still make the playoff, and then they can win in the playoff.
Right, but the division is minus 360, so that's not fun.
Wait, hold on. How many losses do they need to have to not make the
2.
college.
3.
Well, yeah, it depends on how everything else shakes
I think
out.
at 2, if one of the losses is the SEC championship game, I still think they get in with 2 losses.
What's the? I mean, you're saying they lose to Tennessee and then in the SEC championship. I just feel like those are the 250.
Depending on how it shakes out.
Is it really likely that they lose both their quote
I don't
unquote
see they lose 2
50-50
games.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think to me, I'll lock up Tennessee under 9.5.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, actually, I forgot. I'm making that my second lock.
Yeah, Tennessee under 9.5. I'm gonna take Georgia over 11.5. Lock it up, and then
Wow, that's unlike you.
I'll take Georgia plus 220. Also to.
You know what? I'm going to move
Yeah.
off Georgia to win the conference. Instead, give me the South Carolina Gamecocks to win the division at 15-1.
Can there, if someone out
Bold.
there who listens to
Bold.
Even though I also have Georgia over 15.5.
If they're
I'm trying to give out, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go South Carolina college football playoff at 41-1 because in some weird way, I find that almost more realistic than them winning the division.
When
at
they lose to
15-1.
Rich Rod, you're
Hey, come on! It's 41-1. Cole.
Yeah.
so our
Put $200 there. I win. I get a nice Kia.
some of the worst takes we've ever had on this show have been around college football. So just get out of the way. Spencer Rattler, by the way, 60-1 to win the Heisman. I think I like college football playoff at 41.
Yeah,
one better.
My initial thought was Rattler to win the Heisman, but those are too close. So I'll keep the.
And plus, you have
football
Caleb Williams. You know, it's going to be hard to take it away from that kid.
Oh, number 1 pick in the draft. They're already tanking for Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
I've heard much like NBA teams. There's no less than 8 NFL teams that don't care about this season because they want Caleb Williams that bad.
Hey,
He's not even French.
We got the SEC West College Football Conference preview coming up. Obviously, check out the College Football Experience. Subscribe to us and to Colby. That subscribe button. Toss us a nice rating and review. Hop in the Discord. Let's get some chatter going. This is the perfect time to get jacked up for college football. NFL right around the corner.
Sean, do you hear that bell? That's the sound. I turn notifications on for the college football channel on Discord.
Yes, turn notifications on and do it as well. YouTube.com/sports gambling podcasts. New episodes up on the feed Sunday through Thursday, 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 East.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, second the money green, and he is Ryan.
It's pretty wild that Stetson Bennett finally graduated.
no, he didn't.
Kramer, let it ride.